Some coasters are custom designed for the terrain they sit on. They climb up and down hills and dive into underground tunnels as they head into the woods. Other coasters just get plopped down into a parking lot. These are the Meg Griffins of the coaster world. They get no respect. But you know what? Some of them don't deserve the hate. Is it lazy? Yes. Some more than others. Some parks dressed up the area with some landscaping, while others never bothered to remove the parking lines. You can put a great coaster on a flat plot of land, and today I'm gonna celebrate them. These are the 20 best parking lot coasters.
And if they need to get rid of a body, they leave it in my van in the Magic Mountain parking lot. By the way, that's like the third sketchiest thing happening in that parking lot.
I want to give a big shout out to my Instagram followers that helped me with this list. I put a question out there to tell me some parking lot coasters that they were familiar with. So I feel like I have a pretty good list here. I do have 10 coasters that couldn't make this list. Let's go through them. Heidi the Ride at Plopsaland, Thunderbolt at Coney Island, Colossus and Spider at Lagoon, Steel Venom at Valleyfair, Batman the Ride at Six Flags Over Georgia, Green Lantern at Six Flags Great Adventure, and 3 others that deserve a special explanation. Emperor at SeaWorld San Diego is not open yet, but that's being built on a parking lot. Scream at Six Flags Magic Mountain is probably the most notorious parking lot coaster just for how obvious it is. And Disney's California Adventure as a whole is a parking lot park, though you would never know it from looking at it today. Let's jump into the countdown. Number 20. Titan at Six Flags Over Texas. Giovanola's last coaster was built way out in the middle of nowhere, and it's one of the hardest coasters to find in any park. The park really had to extend its footpaths to allow guests to access the number 20 parking lot coaster on this list. So even though it seems like you're stepping into the unknown just to get to the ride, you can see a lot of it is right over the parking lot. Titan is considered the Goliath of Texas, but there actually is a Goliath in Texas that we'll get to real soon. In fact, right now. Number 19. Goliath at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. Batman the Ride clones were popular in the 90s, but this one only dates back to 2003. That's because after Six Flags acquired Jazzland in New Orleans, they wanted to bolster its coaster lineup, and the easy choice was another Batman clone. Once Hurricane Katrina destroyed this park in 2005, Batman was still in good shape because of the elevated station and the supports that were resistant to rust and corrosion. Six Flags moved this west to San Antonio and Six Flags Fiesta Texas, plopping it right in the front of the park and calling it Goliath. It's been greeting guests parking at Fiesta Texas since 2008. Number 18. Roller Coaster at Lagoon. This classic is about to turn 100 years old. Did people even drive to Lagoon in 1921? Maybe they did. I really don't know. But if you look at it today, it cuts right into the parking lot with cars parking on either side of it. This makes for some great photo ops because you can walk all the way around it. And the ride is really good also. In a park that isn't known for its airtime, Roller Coaster delivers the most of any ride there. Number 17. Kentucky Flyer at Kentucky Kingdom. There doesn't seem to be much room behind the water park for anything, but Kentucky Kingdom saw that narrow strip of land and the adjacent parking lot and said,
"Challenge accepted."
They hired the Gravity Group to build a family wooden coaster back there, with the turnaround jutting out into the parking lot. Despite this, I still give the park points for creativity to cram a coaster in that spot. Number 16. Superman Ultimate Flight at Six Flags Great America and Great Adventure. Even though the original Superman clone was built at Six Flags Over Georgia and it was built into the terrain, this model was easy to clone and plop onto a flat plot of land. Great America was going to put this onto the plot of the Wizard, but the park fans were not happy with this decision, so they decided to take out Shockwave, the aero looper that was a parking lot coaster itself. The Superman at Great Adventure also sits right in the front of the park on a carved out piece of parking lot, but they did a good job putting some grass and trees around the area to dress it up a little. Number 15. Yankee Cannonball at Canobie Lake Park. Even though this dates back to 1936, it was actually relocated from Lakewood Park in Connecticut. It has an L-shaped layout, and Canobie decided to situate it to surround the parking lot, with that turnaround pushing the traffic control lines in a little bit. I've never ridden this, but it's a PTC Buzzbar Woody, so you really can't go wrong there. Number 14. Gatekeeper at Cedar Point. This B&M Wing Coaster replaced Disaster Transport in 2013 and led to a brand new entry plaza for Cedar Point. But it can't escape its title as a bit of a parking lot coaster. It actually starts right on the beach, but its Airtime Hill and Final Helix sit on a plot of land that split a parking lot into two pieces. The back end of this ride is right over the entrance, and it looks great, so it's not the most egregious parking lot coaster, but it still qualifies for this list. Number 13. Dominator at King's Dominion. Here's another relocation. This started its life as Batman Night Flight, later renamed Dominator from Geauga Lake. When that park closed in 2007, Cedar Fair threw a bone to one of its new properties by sending this massive floorless coaster to King's Dominion. And of course, they stuck it right in the front of the park in the parking lot. Just like the Superman clones, they dressed up the area with some grass. But you can clearly see how the parking lot had to be recontoured to fit this coaster in there. For me, this is one of the best floorless coasters out there. Number 12. Steel Hog at Indiana Beach. This is the newest coaster at the park, and it sits on a very compact plot. It actually sits between two parking lots, and it's in a strange area of the park, kind of behind the rear entrance of the park and off the beaten path. Indiana Beach definitely found a nice small plot of land to put this on, and it's a terrific ride, arguably the best ride in the park. Number 11. Kingda Ka at Six Flags Great Adventure. When Great Adventure built the Golden Kingdom section of the park with the world's tallest and fastest coaster as the main attraction, they did a great job immersing guests in a jungle-like section of the park. They keep this illusion all the way until you get to Kingda Ka station, and it's not until you're coming down that 418-foot spiral drop that you realize that you're on a parking lot coaster. Kingda Ka was built right on the edge of the parking lot, but luckily, it's not too noticeable when you're on the ride. Number 10. X-Flight at Six Flags Worlds of Adventure. This plot was a former bus parking lot, and Six Flags even had to reroute Geauga Lake Road to go around the new flying coaster. X-Flight stood front and center when guests came to the park, seeing people flying around and doing acrobatics on a coaster concept that was still brand new. It was my first flying coaster and I loved it. It's actually my favorite defunct coaster. It was moved to Kings Island, and even though it found a nice flat plot of land, it was tucked away in a corner of the park. So only Worlds of Adventure and Geauga Lake got to claim it as a parking lot coaster. Number 9. Wicked at Lagoon. When Lagoon was looking for a spot to build the park's most impressive new innovative coaster in 2007, they settled on this little piece of the parking lot on the south side of the park. Unlike some of the other coasters that we've seen up to this point, there wasn't much done to dress up this area. But its proximity to the current parking lot makes it a great place to get footage. So if you go to Lagoon, check it out. And once you're in the park, grab a ride. It's a unique experience that you won't find anywhere else. Number 8. Medusa at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. Other than Scream at Magic Mountain, this may be the most egregious example of a parking lot coaster. The parking lines are still visible on the ground for the majority of the coaster's layout. Medusa is saved by its great layout, 7 whippy inversions, and a straight drop that makes it a top-tier floorless. This was their big standout attraction for a long time, and it's the first thing that you pass by when you're driving to the park. Number 7. Goliath at La Ronde. The Forgotten Six Flags Park in Montreal sits in a very unique location, on an island in the St. Lawrence River. There's not a lot of room here, but when Six Flags wanted to add a standout attraction to the park in 2006, they got creative. They went with a B&M mini hyper called Goliath, and chose to have it stretch out into the parking lot before turning around and heading back into the park. There was no room for a big complex layout like with Raging Bull. Just go out and come back, and if you don't get stapled, get a lot of airtime in both directions. Number 6. Silverstar at Europa Park. One of Europe's biggest destination parks is Europa Park, and of course, it needs a huge parking lot. In 2002, the park decided to cut a little strip out of it to fit their tallest and longest coaster, the B&M Hyper Silverstar. The vast majority of the ride takes place between these two lots, but as you've seen and as you will see, out and back hypercoasters are attractive for this option because they don't take up a big block of land. Number 5. Intimidator at Carowinds. Cedar Fair's first big addition to their new park of Carowinds came in 2010, and they saw the chance to slightly cut into their parking lot to do so. They went with a B&M Hyper, and that big turnaround after the first drop is really the only part that juts into the parking lot. The rest of the out and back layout runs right along the side on a grassy area. A great and efficient use of this land, and a big success for the park's expansion over the last decade. Number 4. Hyperion at Energylandia. For those of you unfamiliar with Energylandia in Poland, check this place out. It opened in 2014 and has been adding coasters like crazy. It benefits from government grants to make this park into a tourist destination, and it's working. Their big addition in 2018 was Hyperion, an Intamin Hyper, and they plopped this on a flat plot of land right alongside the parking lot. It really dominates the front of the park, and it intimidates people as they park and walk in. Like all of these parking lot coasters, look at all of these amazing photo and video ops along the road. This is a bucket list park for sure that I may be able to get to next year. Number 3. Leviathan at Canada's Wonderland. The first B&M Giga runs right alongside the front of the park, and its main turnaround is on its own little island in the parking lot right in front of the park entrance. This is huge, fast, and full of airtime, and in my opinion, it's the best coaster in Canada. But given the park's land situation, more specifically, they have none, and their huge parking lot, it seems like cutting more pieces out of that parking lot may be in the park's future. Number 2. Hades 360 at Mount Olympus. This is an untraditional parking lot coaster, but a parking lot coaster nonetheless. It's the only one on this list that dives under the parking lot. It also has some of its best elements on an island in the middle of the lot, with that corkscrew, overbank, and airtime hill that dives back under. The rest of the coaster takes place within the park, but it spends enough time on, under, and around the Mount Olympus parking lot to make this elite gravity group wooden coaster a parking lot coaster. Number 1. Twisted Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Surprisingly, this is the only RMC on this list. It dates back to the original Colossus being a big parking lot coaster. And if you've been to Magic Mountain, you know the only place that you could possibly get footage of it is in the parking lot. You can see that from the overhead, it sits on a completely flat concrete plot of land, right next to the ultimate parking lot coaster, Scream. And despite being a world-class coaster, it's still a parking lot coaster, but at least they can say it's the best one. That's a wrap for my world tour of parking lot coasters. Just a quick disclaimer, X was partially built on a bus parking lot, but I didn't consider that because it mostly takes place on a hill. Let me know what other coasters could be considered a parking lot coaster, and if you disagree with any coaster being on this list because you don't consider it a parking lot coaster. Some of these were a little more of a stretch than others. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, and if you're new here, please consider subscribing for random coaster content just like this. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.